What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Outbreak Official Podcast. This is our second season. So for those of you that have missed any of our previous discussions, you can go to the Outbreak YouTube, which I highly recommend that you follow along because obviously you're going to get other great videos from them. But you can also find this feed from an audio perspective from previous Outbreak festivals where we recorded it audio only. This is the first year where we did video, and we're really excited about that. So just want you to be aware of being able to find all of the good stuff if you enjoy these conversations. Let me also remind you of the autumn edition of the Outbreak Festival on October 27th at the BEC Arena, the very place where Outbreak took place this year. And it's got the story so far: Citizen, Speed, Angel Dust, Fucked Up, Fleshwater, Narrowhead, and a whole lot more. So go to outbreak-fest.co.uk and you can snag some tickets. I unfortunately will not be going there, but that's going to be a banger of a show. I can tell you that already. And the 2025 edition, from what I've been told, it's being planned right now. There's a lot of discussions of great bands, and man, I'm excited for all of you to be aware of it and go to it because it's well worth your time. So today's episode is awesome for a multitude of reasons. One of them being the fact that we are talking to Anthony and Chris from The World is a Beautiful Place and I Am No Longer Afraid to Die. Obviously, many people call them The World Is, but I like to fit the whole band name in there because, you know, it's just fun. And that's what they named their band. We actually discussed that among many other things in this discussion. It is a very, I would say, punchy / funny, goofy interview. We go all over the place, but we have a lot of laughs. And yeah, it's a very, very cool thing, especially because watching this band evolve over the past 10 some odd years has been really, really cool because they've been able to get very experimental with what they're doing. And I think this was their third or fourth time touring the UK. So it's awesome. It's awesome. They're able to still continue to put out challenging and exciting music. So just as a reminder, we'll be releasing new episodes every 2 weeks until probably March of next year. So, because we have a lot of great chats to get to. So subscribe and follow, whether you listen to this on audio or whether you watch this on video. We don't care. Just follow along. That way you will not miss an episode as it gets delivered to you. And we have to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, our main sponsor this year, which is Squarespace. And use the promo code OUTBREAK to get 10% off of your first website or domain. Trust me, if you're a band, if you're a record label, start a Squarespace site. Super easy, super simple. It's awesome. So if you have any feedback or concerns or questions or whatever, you can email podcast@outbreak-fest.co.uk. And yeah, let's get into the discussion with Anthony and Chris from The World Is.
Hey, I'm Chris. I play guitar in The World is a Beautiful Place, and I'm no longer afraid to die.
I'm Anthony. I play guitar in The World is a Beautiful Place, and I'm no longer afraid to die.
Had to say the full band.
Yeah.
I know. I was gonna say, like, do you guys shorten that up for?
So as a bit,
Yeah.
like whenever we're on, like when someone will ask, like, can we shorten your name, like for like a tour post? Nope, that's starting.
You're
Well,
like,
I mean, at a rest area, I'll just say we're foxing.
Yeah.
sure.
Like, someone's like, you're in a band and I'm foxing.
Right.
This is like way shorter and easier.
And especially too, where it's like, I mean, most people that ask that at a rest stop or whatever, they're never actually going to do the due diligence to look your band up.
Yeah.
For the most part.
They're not going to know what it is unless I'm like Daughtry.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
The one time we answered truthfully, it was good because we were at a Buc-ee's and we ran into this band Sloth Rust who was on tour with Foxing.
Oh, that's incredible.
I would have kind of preferred if we did say we're foxing. They're like, okay, well, what?
They're like, wait a minute, you don't look like our tour mates.
Yeah. Almost got caught.
Also, seeing like on our tangent, like the full band name going across an entire line
Yeah.
is hysterical.
I mean, the fact that obviously the band name in and of itself was, somewhat of a bit to begin with, where it's just like, why would we not lean into that and like
Yeah.
completely make everybody's life just like, we can't fit this anywhere, like anywhere.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. We had a tour a few years ago where the band wanted to just shorten it to The World Is, or The World Is a Beautiful Place.
Yep.
And Anthony was like, well, it's not the band name.
Right.
No.
People may be slightly confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be like, they may think this is a different band. And then,
and then if they see our merch, they're gonna what are all these extra words? There's an ampersand somewhere.
Really fit the name on a t-shirt.
it's so confusing. Well, I appreciate you gentlemen doing this on camera as well, because, I know it's always like, oh my gosh, like we're going to be seen, like audio. I mean, that's fine. But
Yeah.
the idea that you guys, like, my observation that the world is a beautiful place and I'm no longer afraid to die is the fact that it's always been this amorphous collective. Like, obviously there's been, the core people that have been involved and, the music has evolved over time. It's always felt like this thing where it's like, it's like the polyphonic spree for hardcore or punk or whatever. The fact that you have worked, I mean, you guys have obviously been in it for a while now. What keeps that, I guess, theme going of the fact that like we want to continue to bring new energy and new life into the band while also like not losing who we are? I realize that's kind of a big question, but like, why is that important for you to kind of keep that theme going?
That is good. I mean, I work with a lot of bands like myself, like recording wise, but it kind of, like seeing all those bands like evolve and stuff over the years, it kind of always gets me like thinking like, oh, how can we keep up and like change with our tastes and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's also stubbornness of keeping going, but wanting to evolve, but keeping going out of spite or stubbornness.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just, I haven't really thought about like that too much. I'm always just like, I want to go to the next thing. I just want to think about the next thing. Cause I'm always working on other records. I'm like, oh, I have this record coming up. For us, it's like, what's the next thing?
Right.
There's not like much stand back and look behind too much going on, like a little bit of self-referential stuff in the songs. But I think just as the group writing together, it just happens to have its own thing that's us, but each record is different as we go.
Yeah.
Which keeps it exciting. I would hate to like AC/DC it and just be like, oh.
Right.
Like fourth record sounds like the first one,
Yeah. And I mean, and two, the fact that it's like, because you have all come up with these different reference points. I mean, it's all obviously loosely connected with independent DIY, punk, hardcore, whatever you want to describe it. Because you can inject these new ideas and be like, and I know every band wants to be like, we can do whatever, but there are certain rules of the road that you certainly, once you get into your second, third record, where it's like, we don't want to divert too much from who we are, because then people will be like, there's no transition EP that happened in between these two records. But like, you guys have pretty much thrown that notion out where it's just like, well, follow along. You're going to get something interesting to us.
Yeah. I mean, the next record starts with a blast beat. So like,
yeah, I think at this point, like if we're not doing it for ourselves and just like for what we want to like look for in a band that we want to listen to or be in, then it's not really worth it. We're just kind of spinning our wheels because it's not the most lucrative thing in the world to do. So if we're not having fun and enjoying like what we're writing, and it's not like reflecting like where we're at as people and our taste, that there's really no point.
Right. Yeah. Cause that dovetails into a perfect question where something I'm always interested in when you are starting bands and, building whatever it is that you're doing, like clearly you're not making any money off it. That's obviously, inherently attached to punk and hardcore. Now there's obviously more of a path where you can be like, this can be a thing, but what are some of your favorite, like as you were, building and still I know both of your quote unquote jobs on the side. I mean, they're not jobs, guys. It's beyond much. But your profession is what you're doing on the side. What's been your favorite thing that you have like done as a, side gig, hustle, whatever you want to call it, that has given you the ability to be able to do the bands that you've played in over time and all that sort of stuff?
I mean, just working on records for other bands, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I guess that would be my answer, but it feels almost redundant because then it's so I can work on our records.
Well, but I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
when you started recording, I mean, that probably was in your mind, like you were interested in it because you were playing in bands.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, it's also helped us, like, because I've met so many people through it, that there's been instances of, oh, I worked with this band and they're friends with this person, and that's how we got this random tour or show. And I mean, Anthony had toured with Dillinger Escape Plan years ago, and then, kind of through that a little bit, like the association, now we're playing with them in August. There's little things like that I think for me have worked out.
Yeah.
To help us kind of keep going.
Right. To be able to contribute to your art, the fact that you could help others create art, like it's like a cyclical thing.
Yeah. I mean, I've had like people who's like promoters for some shows or festivals we've played, they'll come up to me like, oh, I loved this certain record you did. And maybe that's how they found out about us, or it just kept us on their mind. And
right.
It's kind of rolled into, oh, then we're playing a certain thing.
Yeah.
A couple years later.
Yeah. That's cool. What about yourself, Hans?
For me, like I mean, like for side hustle stuff, like I got into management just to help bands not make the mistakes I did. Very early on, helping develop bands get out of like the punk rock guilt of like playing cool shows or taking opportunities that might not like, be the most cred thing, but can help push the band, get them into like new things. So that's giving me the opportunity to also like, stay objective with like our band as well, with like opportunities that might not make sense on paper, but if we can leave with 10% of people like interested from a completely new crowd, then like that's a win. And then other than that, like I got into barbering because I was going crazy just working like jobs where I wasn't able to be creative, and then barbering, like I kind of scratched the itch of like starting and finishing multiple projects a day, and like just being able to talk to people and then leave whenever I needed to go on tours and record and stuff.
I love that. Like, especially, I mean, everybody that falls into a job like that, where it's just like working either connected to music or at a place that like understands, where it's like, yo, I'm gonna be gone for 2 months. Like when I come back, like, am I cool? And everybody's like, oh yeah, bagel shop or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but when you're able to apply that creative, because I mean, as you guys both know, like working on records, like takes a long time, but working on a haircut, like you got 6 records out a day.
Yeah.
And that's being able to, it's the same reason like why people like Legos or whatever. Where it's just like, I'm finished with this thing, I'm moving on. Like, it's great.
Yeah. Apparently I like long tasks, it seems.
Yeah.
4 to 6 week tours, records that take like 8 weeks to record.
Right. You like the 4 to 8 month window. Like that's how you operate.
I need constant change and stimulus.
Right. And that's where it's like, as you grow up and as you grow older, like you start to understand your preferences even more than you did when you were 20, 25 years old, where you're just like, oh, this is where I can actually excel at, as opposed to like what I was trying to do, where I was just, an idiot being like, oh yeah, I got this. It was like, no, you don't.
This show is sponsored by Betterhelp. Like you get older, sometimes you get stuck in a rut and you're like, what am I going to do with my life? How about I want to like learn something new? I want to develop a different skill. That is where an amazing tool like Betterhelp and therapy in general can get you unstuck from those ruts that you just fall into. And I personally am a huge advocate for therapy, and I know that many of the bands and artists that exists within our scene are huge advocates for therapy because, like I said, you get stuck in a rut, you need someone else outside of your sphere of friends, whether it's family members or close friends, sometimes they're not the best judge and you need a third party to be able to walk you through whatever it is that you are going through. And I want to give you 10% off of your first month. Go to betterhelp.com/outbreak. It's an incredible way to get started with therapy, and it's all online. And it makes it very, very easy for you to get dialed in and find a therapist of your dreams. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but it's true. If you do not like the therapist you get first synced up with, you can switch, no additional cost. Boom, done and done. So again, for 10% off of your first month, go to betterhelp.com/outbreak and give therapy a try. BetterHelp is a great place to start. Thank you, BetterHelp.
On that idea of, touring, and obviously how you guys, like, you're active, but you're not killing yourselves in my perspective. Has it been interesting to watch like the touring evolve over time to where it's like you don't have to be out 200 days out of the year to remain quote unquote relevant? How do you guys kind of approach the touring aspect?
I mean, at this point, we're all in our mid-30s or later 30s, and it just needs to be like, if it's not fuck yeah, it's no type of thing. Like we need to like just be able to like enjoy what we're doing. We're past the point of like doing things because we think we have to. Like, luckily, like everyone on our team is very supportive of it, understands that we're adults, and I think because of streaming and different social media avenues, like it kind of like that we're still struggling to learn and get a grasp on.
I'm learning TikTok.
So it kind of helps like keep things like moving without us having to leave home and leave our lives for 200 days a year. We can leave, do 3 1-month tours and cover as much ground as like a ton of like shows and like one-offs and just like being in the van constantly circling the country. I feel like at this point, with how fast things come out, there's a lot of diminishing returns that just now.
Yeah, I mean, you can also burn out so easy. Like when I was like early 20s, I was like, yeah, dude, I'll go out for 300 days. Like I'll do it, whatever. Like, $150 a night for like 2 months. Yeah, that sounds great. Like, but you got to adapt. You have to adapt as it goes. Like, you just can't be like sprinting constantly,
It's a marathon.
Yeah. Once you're like multiple records deep, you're like, okay, like maybe we don't accept this certain thing so we can actually finish recording the next record, because like you're kind of seeing to the future. It used to be like, oh, there's that tour and it's going to immediately slam into this other thing we have back to back. Yeah, do it. And then at the end of it, everyone's like, what did I do? And like after experiencing that, you're like, okay, let's space this out a little bit.
Right.
It's okay.
Also helps foster like our own interpersonal relationships that like we're not getting burnt down on each other either.
Yeah. And that in turn will actually make you want to be creative with each other, as opposed to being like, oh, we're in the spite room where we're recording.
Yeah.
We sort of hate each other and we're trying to, bang this song out.
I've experienced that enough on other albums for other bands.
You're like, can we like calm down here? Do I need to? I mean, producers definitely have to play the psychiatrist a lot of times.
Oh yeah. It's like kind of like a pretty high percentage of babysitting and interpersonal, like, some therapist stuff. I can, at this point now, within 2 days of like a record, I can tell that like this person's not making the tour cycle.
Right. We're maybe going to keep your guitars, but I don't know about anything else.
I can already, I can tell the body language and like just the tone of voice with people and be like, all right.
Right.
Like,
this is done.
I can tell what's going to happen. Like 6 months from now is like an announcement of like, oh, there's like a new so-and-so.
Right. Yeah. The writing is on that wall.
Yeah.
It's, just getting burnt out and stuff, like, because like our relationships with each other are so good at this point, we just spent, a while writing. We've been writing on and off for almost a year now. Yeah. Thinking about like recording and stuff. And like when we're done writing, like everyone stays at my house and we still like hang out, which is nice. We're not like all going to separate rooms.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's a really nice thing to have.
Yeah. We had a big Nick Cage night the other night, do a movie night after writing. So we did Con Air
and then Face Off.
I'd somehow never seen I'd somehow never seen it.
Oh, amazing. That must have been a wild, right?
Fever dream.
He was crazy.
Yeah.
I still feel crazy like thinking about it. It's still on my mind.
It never leaves your mind once you see it. You're just like, this is such an insane concept, but like so sick. And I can't wait to watch the entire movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a random question, but a fun one. I think if I were to tomorrow wake up, give you guys, whatever, $1 million, $1 billion, the number doesn't matter, but you would open up your own like retail store, whether that's like selling stuff, whether that's selling a service, I don't care.
Okay.
Just what do you think you would do with that space and obviously the, infinite amount of money I'm giving you? What would you?
Coffee shop. I'm currently at one now that was started like 6 months ago. I love doing it, and
amazing.
It's so fun, and I can be nerdy and play with science stuff, which I love, and just create like different drink menus and stuff. So I'm kind of doing it. So
yeah, so you're opening up your own coffee shop.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the describe if you can? What sort of vibe would you try to embody with this coffee shop?
incredibly pretentious. But
Okay.
yeah,
You're just
there'll be no creamer there.
whoever's walking in, it's like, I don't know if
You're gonna get a lesson in elevation and tasting notes.
We're gonna walk you through this. I love so it's like if you're walking in there, a minimum 10 minutes.
Oh yeah,
lecture.
Oh yeah, plus the 3 minutes it takes to do the pour over. You're throughout your afternoon.
I love that, and you will leave. To use your word,
Yeah.
elevated. You are aware, and people will be like, maybe I won't go back there, but you have infinite money, so
Yeah.
you're fine.
It's great.
Right, you
Yeah.
get one customer a day, no problem. All right, I
It
like.
has to be a retail space.
I mean,
Like I'm getting into sales now.
no, well, no, you were owning the space. You want to like curate the space. You want to stock it with stuff, whatever.
Oh, I was
Like,
worried I was
you
going to have to open a Best Buy or something.
No, it does not
Like
have
Ray
to be.
Harkins gives me money, and I'm like, I guess I sell laptops and used phones.
I do not want to pressure
They
you.
have like the Rancid logo on it
Yeah.
or something. That's like a punk twist or something.
I definitely do not want to push you into any franchises or anything like that. It can just be a standalone shop where you sell or service. I mean, I know you being a recording engineer, you already sort of do that. But you don't feel
Okay, I'll take it from like if it wasn't recording.
okay.
I won't be like, oh, it's a recording studio, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
It would probably be like guitar pedals, like a guitar pedal shop
I love it.
with like.
That's how
I mean,
Dippin'
that's-
dots. Or just dots, right?
I mean, okay, I would if it wasn't music related. Let's say it's not that because that's too
You can-
close. That's too close to studio stuff, and that's
It's
like
fine. Yeah.
easy. A bakery
Okay.
because I love treats like sweet tooth.
I love it.
I'm not like amazing at baking. I'm sure I could figure it out with your money.
Dude,
With your money, we could. This partnership could be really good. If you'd like to invest $1 million of 100 words or less, $1 million or less.
100%. I definitely will be. Yeah. So like whatever. Give me your top 3 like sort of bakery items in general, like
Okay.
sweet treats. Yeah.
Sweet treats. Let's go. We got cinnamon bun. Cinnamon bun's really good.
Okay.
Yesterday I had a really good raspberry turnover, so there'd be that. Chocolate chip cookies. Simple, but
Still.
everybody likes it.
Yeah.
Muffins. Like, we could go chocolate chip still. The more chocolate or candy involved, the better. But
Just the Skittles muffin.
let's do the other thing, red velvet cake.
I love all of those. I mean, I'll eat every single one of those. But I really like the idea of a bakery / candy shop.
Yes, that's where I would. That would be my thing.
Like barrels where you scoop out the candy into a bag.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. We'll
So now we're business partners.
Right. So obviously we will, make this work. And like, I mean, your coffee shop could literally be next door, adjoining.
I'm sure we'll be very successful in this business venture.
No problem.
Lots of points involved, and what's people talking about? What's other terms of like CEO talk? I don't have like CEO brain, but like
Yeah. I mean, like like shares,
Talking about dividends.
that. We're gonna be open to the market. We're gonna sell stocks.
Absolutely.
S&P, yeah.
IPO. We'll
Yes.
do an IPO.
IPO, whatever that
Right
means.
out of the
we're
gate
good.
before you
That
open
means
the doors.
initial public offering where
Alright.
you go on the, so,
Yeah.
that's
Businessman.
yeah, I think that's why we can work well together.
This podcast is sponsored by Squarespace. They are our amazing sponsor for this season and made it all happen. And on top of that, they can make things happen for you because they are the all-in-one platform for entrepreneurs, bands, record labels, whatever it is, to be able to create your website, web store, web domain, whatever it is you want to do on the internet. Squarespace can be your friend. I have personally launched a few websites with Squarespace, and it is incredibly easy, intuitive. The design is awesome. If you need help from a customer service perspective, they are on top of it. So please use the promo code Outbreak. So that's squarespace.com/outbreak, and you will get 10% off of your entire order, your website or your domain for a year. It's great. It's awesome. And the reason why I like Squarespace so much is they really do support independent artists, whether it's people making cool things, whether it's bands or record labels. Like I said, they really, really get it, and they want to make it as easy as possible for you. If you do not know any code whatsoever, which most of us don't, that's why they make it really, really easy. And so it takes the guesswork out of everything, and you can get a website up and running in like 20, 30 minutes, and it looks awesome. So again, go to squarespace.com/outbreak for 10% off your website or domain. And we love you, Squarespace.
This is sort of a cheeky question, as it were, using some UK terminology, where we were talking off camera or before we were recording of the idea of like what the UK does differently that you're like, that's weird. I don't like that, or that's cool. Why doesn't the United States have that? Because you guys have done your fair share of international touring and played a lot of places. So what would you say that, the UK, in your opinion, does wrong? I'm not trying to incite an international incident, but just there are
Air conditioning's like barely any.
Yes.
Right.
No shade, but like,
Yeah.
Like you built castles, but you can't put an HVAC unit in.
Right. You invented
mayonnaise on everything, including
Vinegar.
in salad dressing. And
the vinegar.
And no offense, and I'm so sorry if we're never invited back, but HP sauce kind of sucks.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I
no
haven't heard
salad
that
cream. That thing.
Salad cream is
Yeah.
oof,
Yeah.
yuck.
Yuck.
Right. Okay. Those are, I love those because those are not common. The HP sauce, like I genuinely have never thought about that or heard people rallying against it, but it does make sense.
It'd be easy to be like, oh, the driving's on the other side of the road. We're not going.
No.
It's the sauces.
No, you were probably the first to drive, so like that.
That's fine.
Whatever,
wherever you want the wheel, I don't care.
You're like, well, we'll follow along. That's no problem.
Looks cool.
What?
Yeah, we're the only country that doesn't use the metric system, so
Yep.
it's like, Jesus, we're dumb.
Yeah.
We're so dumb.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess on that notion too, what does the UK or Europe, broadly speaking, do right? Like that. I mean, you can obviously go into a lot of politics, social.
Yeah, I'll keep it tame.
Yeah.
But we'll go ice. We talked about ice a little before. Ice is a scam. Like, don't put ice in my drink. I want more liquid.
It's incorrect.
I love deals, and I don't like getting like 50% of my drink. It could be lukewarm. It's fine.
Dilution is part of
I don't like
process
it.
of enjoying something.
The end of the drink's bad.
The drink is bad. I mean, I genuinely I follow along with your logic, but then it's the temperature that is like,
Yeah. It's on a
It's
90-degree day.
it's a risk I'm willing to take.
so you would straight up like fountain drink.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah, I don't care. It could be flat too. I don't care. As long as there's no ice.
As long as it's sweet and warm, you're into it.
Yeah, I don't care. That's fine.
I love you're like literally you can bastardize my drink just to not put ice in.
Yeah, because also think about this with a cooler. This will be the end of the ice.
It's okay.
All right.
It's okay.
You got a cooler, you're at a party. All this ice. At first, you're like, this is great. It starts to melt. You get everybody's hands in the water on the can. Then the can's wet. It's dripping. No ice.
It's a nightmare. I understand.
It's all right.
It's okay. You don't need to apologize. I asked.
It's a very sensitive
You brought
subject.
I think one thing that just makes, I guess, the 7 of our lives easier is everyone can eat everywhere. It doesn't matter like dietary like restrictions, preferences, like no matter where you go, everyone can have something to eat, and like not just French fries for the vegans. That like it's everyone can get full meals. The US needs to catch up with that. Like And,
I
and they're not gouging like the prices for it. It's all relative.
Tesco meal deal,
Tesco meal deal.
Sainsbury's meal deal, M&S meal deal. Just
Signing up, man.
I got to throw them all out there.
Yeah. No, because they all offer it and they
Yes.
all have options.
It's great. And then I saw like Outbreak is like allowing people to bring the meal deals in. Like,
From Tesco.
yeah, like come on,
Sponsor,
like
please.
Riot Fest, get on board.
Totally. Like, why don't you guys learn? Like, clearly the UK and European market has festivals like on lock as far as experiences are concerned.
Mhm.
It's like when you're bringing like 900 million people to, Vakin or whatever, it's like, we can't do that in the States. Why? I mean, maybe because we don't have all these huge pastures or whatever, except in like Omaha, Nebraska or whatever, but we can probably figure that out.
Isn't like Blue Ridge Rock Fest? That's like
That just got and that just ended.
I didn't do too well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
that
They got rained out or something, or
yeah.
thunder and lightning or whatever.
I mean, Firefest, that would never happen here.
No, it's true. And yeah, you read it. That's
It didn't happen in the U.S. either.
yeah. You gotta do that offshore.
It didn't really happen anywhere. So
Yeah, it's international waters, so
So that's where obviously that's where anybody can operate a festival, but doing it.
you know what? And I'm thinking about
Please.
your investment opportunity.
That's fine.
Earlier,
Circle back. Yeah,
sir.
sir.
I think we could make our own Tesco. I say we bring it stateside.
Why not? I mean, it's even though we talked initially about the idea of not franchising anything. Now
I think we franchise. I'm going full corporate.
Listen, I'm following you. So wherever your idea takes you, like
I've been thinking about it for a few minutes now, and I think that's where we go.
We went back to the board, thought this through.
Yeah.
Sharks. Yeah, that's true.
Shark Tank.
Yeah, they obviously, I'm fairly certain they call it something drastically different here in the UK. I mean, because I know they franchise.
That's like their fish here.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
We got Jaws.
Mackerel.
Mackerel, yeah.
Mackerels, yeah. But okay, I think we've obviously, forged ourselves
You're in Cod
blood.
Tank.
Yeah, no, I'm in Cod Tank. Well, the last thing I want to hit on, the idea that the experiences that you had when you were younger playing in bands, obviously they inform the decisions you make later on. A fun thing and this isn't to embarrass you guys, but this is just like what you learned the most from doing, like making a colossal mistake. And it doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, like, I put on a show and I lost like, $2,000. I had to ask my mom for, even though that could be an interesting example, but like some of the mistakes that you made earlier on in your, band lives that you learned, you're like, I learned a lot from this mistake. Mm-hmm.
Don't put off van repairs.
Okay.
The band that I used to play in Gatherers, like we put off like what seemed like a weird rattle on the front end. We lost our steering completely. And
it's like
to Adam and Rich's credit, they got us to where we need to go. Great. But we also couldn't turn. So
that's like was it the classic, like I hear a rattle, turn up the music and it's not there anymore?
Oh yeah. Well, also like we had this weird church van that had no seats in it. So we all sat on the floor. So we didn't know if we were hearing the road or like the music up, but it was, we noticed it. We were like, it's probably fine. We got another 4,000
driving down the road right now.
We're not mechanics. Yeah. What do we know?
Yeah.
I'm not going to presume anything. That's just rude.
Right. Exactly. The vehicle will let me know when something's wrong.
Mm-hmm. That's what lights are for.
Right. Yeah. When the lights pop up, that's what I know. I'm like, all
Apparently
right.
They don't pop up when it's steering related.
No, that's true. Yeah. You're supposed to sense that and be like, oh, yes, we literally cannot steer. Well,
yeah.
Thank God you guys are safe. And that's, don't put off van repairs.
All right. So it's just treating it's not a mistake I necessarily made, but I witnessed, I'll say.
Sure.
Because we weren't in the spot of headlining at the time when I learned it. It was like treating all the bands on the tour with like respect and not like shutting them out of a green room when, say it's like a 500 cap venue and we're 3-4 band tour. There's one green room. Like you can't just be like, no one's allowed in here. And I've been on some tours where that's happened. And it's also weird because it'd be like, well, we headlined this room ourselves 6 months ago. Everybody was here in the tour package. It was totally fine. And then somehow we're back and now no one's allowed in the green room. I can put my bag in, but I have to leave. Like that. We have to like bargain for, can we put the bag in there? And they're like, I guess you could.
Can we buy water back from you?
Yeah. Can we buy water? Like, it's just shitty. And thankfully, like,
that's really only happened.
It's been only a couple times.
Sure.
Can name anything. It's, everybody has different touring ethics or whatever, but I'm thankful that early on we had toured with Caspian and Me Without You, and they like taught us so much. And it was just like, they were always down to hang out. They're always like including us and stuff. There wasn't any like weirdness of like buyout stuff or anything. They were like upfront. They're always really cool. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is how you do it.
Right.
I'm glad I didn't have like initial experience of like learning from bands that were like, I guess, oh, you lock out of the green room, do all this stuff.
Where the headliner acts accordingly.
Right.
So thankfully we had done a tour with Caspian. They were super inviting and welcoming. Had done another tour after that where I was like, oh, this seems off.
Right. This is different.
But I'd say that's the thing. Because when you're out for like weeks at a time, that's going to cause so much tension. But also like, what's the point? Like,
yeah. Totally. I mean, it's as simple as it sounds. It's the golden. Yeah. There are certain times where it's like it makes sense, but most of the time you're just like you can be a reasonable human.
Yeah. Like, oh, we're gonna argue over the couch that's broken in the green room, anyways. Like, no one's really gonna hang out in there. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say one other thing that I learned kind of later on is stop and look around because there's a lot of cool shit everywhere. And if you're just like hyper focused on getting to the venue 4 hours early, like just like enjoy, like we get to do such a weird thing, like see some cool stuff, like go to parks, like go look at castles, like there's time to do that.
Yeah, we did a tour yesterday in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Like the underground.
It was super cool.
It was really cool.
We're extremely lucky to get to spend, 3-4 months out of the year traveling the US or other countries. Like, it took a while for us to get in the mindset of like, we probably not doing this forever. And we've been to, Phoenix 400 times, but we've never actually seen Phoenix.
Of course.
Like we went to Joshua Tree for the first time, like 3 years ago. Like,
yeah.
We've driven by it.
I was a little scared of the snakes, though.
Sure.
I was like, knowing my luck, I'm going to be the guy gets out of the van, walks in, bite. Rest of the tour is just like.
We also kept telling Chris there was a snake near him.
Right.
Yeah.
So you maybe let him into that a little bit. That's understandable.
Yeah. But yeah, just looking around and seeing like stuff like that's so important, and it makes this so much more fun.
It does.
And you get to meet a lot of cool people doing that as well.
Absolutely, for sure. Because you look like these weirdos going into a national park. I'm like, what are you here for? Oh, a band. Perfect. Great. Thanks for visiting a national park.
Hey, we're foxing.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
I'll do the official handshake on camera.
Yes.
That's what
handshake for the Tesco.